good afternoon, and welcome to the first of the afternoon sessions. My name is Courtney Libby, and I'm an associate in the corporate finance team at Canaccord Genuity in Melbourne. We have a great session ahead of us, so let's jump right into it. Our first speaker is Paul Smirlik, Managing Director of Pantoro. Paul holds a Bachelor of Mining Engineering from the University of South Australia. He has extensive experience in feasibility studies, project development and operations in both Australia and overseas. He has been the Managing Director of Pantoro since 2011 and holds considerable experience in financing and developing operations. Paul transitioned Pantoro from explorer to producer through the acquisition and development of Nicholson's gold mine in 2014. He has also been instrumental in the acquisition and development of the Norseman gold project. Please put your hands together for Paul.
Thanks very much, Courtney, and thanks to everyone for coming in to listen to the presentation today. Just before I get started, it's my little girl Lucy's 10th birthday today. I know she'll be watching, so happy birthday, sweetheart. I would get you all to sing happy birthday, but we don't have enough time. Okay, so Pantoro, we've been presenting here since 2016 on the back of delivering production from Halls Creek from 2015. So we've had great support from diggers. Over the last few years, we've added the Norseman Gold Project, or 50% of the Norseman Gold Project, to our portfolio, and we've done a lot of work down there in preparing for development and then developing the site. And as you'll see, we're getting very close to a restart of what is a truly world-class gold field. We're doing all of that with a really strong balance sheet. You can see we closed the quarter with $53 million. We completed a well-supported capital raise during March, which was fantastic timing, just before the market went down. We have a small debt facility with GCI, who have been fantastic lenders and also a fantastic support. So the corporate overview, you don't see a whole lot of change here from previous years, which is fantastic. So we've had really good stability across our board and across our senior management team. We've all worked together for a really long time, most of us since the early 2000s in various companies. You can see our shareholder list there, so we've got very good, strong institutional backers, as well as a long list of private investors that have been with us for a long time. So ESG, and this is the only sheet you'll see on ESG from me, but I think the message is that Pantoro has always been a responsible miner. We've always gone out of our way to do the right thing. Like a lot of other companies now, we're just getting into reporting what we're doing. You'll see more and more of that coming through as it's become much more important in the investment landscape. But I think a couple of key highlights. You can see that our underground workforce up at Halls Creek has 20% Indigenous employment. Most of the guys up there are local, and that's been a great achievement. We've taken guys from never being at a mine through to running charge up and some of the senior sort of jobs in the underground. The clearing that we're doing at Norseman at the moment, we're harvesting the trees and putting that back through the community, so they're getting some good benefit out of that. And we're right in the throes of moving across to getting some large solar farms installed. So onto the Norseman Gold Project. Most people know the Norseman Gold Project. Most people in this room have probably been associated with it at some stage during their careers. There's a huge number of resources there. We have nearly 5 million ounces of gold in resource following our latest update out this morning. We have something like 25 different resource areas, most of them prospective for both open pit and underground. And we've focused in on the ones that we're starting on. So we got 6 areas ready for mining as part of our feasibility study, which we finished in October 2020. Really simple startup strategy. We've focused all of our work in those starting mining areas, I say. So you can see Scotia and the Oak Underground mine, they're really the mainstays of production for the foreseeable future. Once the Scotia open pits start their decline and start transitioning into underground, we have a series of open pits to come in. So Gladstone is the first of those, but as you'll see, there's a large number more, and there's a large number of underground mines to start up as well. We've built a brand new 1 million tonne per annum processing plant. GR Engineering's built that. I've got a short video to show you on site. This was taken about 2.5 weeks ago, so it's getting a little old. Box cut for the OK underground mine there. You can see all of the infrastructure, and it's a common theme at Norseman. We've got all the infrastructure that we need, workshops, offices. We haven't had to build that stuff. The only thing that we've had to go and build is the new processing plant. So there's the underground mine. Moving on to the Scotia open pit. So this is starting from the south. You can see Hamptons have commenced a pretty large cut back there on the existing Scotia pits. There's a large zone in the middle which is taken out. We're moving between sort of 20 and 25,000 cubic metres a day at this point in time. So moving up through Scotia, this Scotia open pit is about 3.5 grams a tonne, so it's a really good high-grade pit. It goes to about 150 metres below surface. It's currently at about 60 metres. And what you're seeing now is Green Lantern immediately to the south of Scotia. So we discovered this in September 2020. We've put about 80,000 metres of drilling into this thing now. And as you can see, it's first cab off the rank for mining. So we put a new reserve out on this today. The resource is roughly 400,000 ounces of gold in Green Lantern alone now. What you see cleared is stage 1. All of the stuff where you can see drilling beyond there is stage 2. So it's a very large area that we've cleared. Stage 2 is bigger again than stage 1. Overall, we have about a 3 kilometre strike length through there. Some of the infrastructure, the waste dump clearing, and the ROM pad on the right there, which is filling pretty substantially as we go through. So we just about jumped to the process plant here. So looking at the process plant now, as I say, all new. That stacker conveyor that you see right now is the only thing that we've kept from the old processing plant. Everyone knows it was in quite poor condition. Building a brand new one was the best option for us. So you can see that we've got secondary and tertiary crushing there with a screen. We've put in a large fine ore bin. It's a standard CIL 3.3 megawatt mill that is guaranteed for 1 million tonnes per annum. We expect it to go a little bit above that as we're operating. Again, you can see the substantial infrastructure. The workshop in the top of the picture there was already there. The power station we've extended. You can see the change in colour, but there and operational. And you can see the tailings then going out to the tailings dam in the background. So really quick overview of the project and what we've been up to for the last 12 months. So looking at the Scotia Mining Centre, this is a massive mining centre. It's now 1 million ounces of gold. The Scotia on the right is what we started with when we finished the feasibility. You can see the Green Lantern pit is about the same size again. Looking at the underground, we've drilled over this last year to about 500 metres depth. You can see some of those results highlighted in red. This is going to be a really substantial underground mine with big widths and big grades. At the moment, we have the grade overall sitting at about 5 grams a tonne. I expect that to improve substantially as we move through there. And then I'll zoom out and I'll look at Green Lantern as well. And the key thing I think to look at here again is the really high grades that we're seeing at the base. So there's a very real possibility that I'm standing here in 3 years' time and we have an underground mine that's got a strike length of roughly 3 kilometres, multiple portals. We see in 2 years' time the southern end of the Scotia open pit completes the open pit mining and we transition to underground from that time. Looking at the Scotia Mining Centre in its entirety, you can see now that the Scotia pit was a starting position. There was about 400,000 ounces of gold in here total when we started. As I say, there's 1 million ounces there now. The Green Lantern deposit, you can see we've got good high-grade hits, roughly twice the distance compared to the current length of that pit. So we expect that pit to be substantially larger. The SIF discovery up in the top of the page, it's in a banded iron unit which has never been explored in the Norseman area before. We haven't put a resource on that yet. We've only drilled it over a few hundred metres. That will come over the coming year. We've made other discoveries at Panda there as well as shown. Panda's under an old waste dump. That waste dump needs to be moved as part of the pit mining. When we've done that, we'll fully delineate that and get it ready for mining as well. So moving away from Scotia now, and Scotia really has been the focus of all of our drilling in the last year because of the great results that we're getting. But we did about 12,000 metres of drilling in the OK underground while we were doing the feasibility study. Again, very high grade, narrow vein, so this is very much our bread and butter and similar to what we've done up at Halls Creek for the last 7 years now. So we're really excited about this. We're in there now, we're developing ore faces while we're doing rehabilitation and pumping the bottom levels out. So this becomes really important for us from sort of late this year and adds some really good grade to the feed blend for the project. So moving from the initial mining plan, and as I say, what you're seeing there, you're seeing roughly 5 years worth of mining in that first stage. In the second stage, we move on to some additional open pits while the Scotia underground and the OK underground continue on. Gladstone is the first of them. Again, you can see 1.5 kilometres long. Looking in section view on the left-hand side there, you can see there's a number of stacked loads with some really strong grades in there, and you can see in the long section view on the right-hand side, those plunging high-grade chutes. We haven't drilled for underground targets in this stuff yet, but very confident that, again, we'll see underground opportunities as we get to completing the open pit. The Cobbler ore body, again, close to the plant. It's slightly lower grade than the other things that we're mining. It's 8 to 10 metres wide. It's over 600 metres long and it's open at each end. So you can see that all of these open pits that we're getting into are big multi-year, long life open pits that will support Norseman over the long term. And while we move into a lot of that really high grade underground material. So the Norseman mainfield, it has produced the majority of the gold in Norseman over its 6 million ounce history. There's really large zones which I went last year into a lot more detail and showed these areas that are 500 metres long and 300 metres high that they simply hadn't got to mining when they shut those down. We've been drilling those areas, we've been getting good results. So as the mine is up and running, it's generating positive cash flow. We will get back into these areas. We will get some of those very high grades that this field's produced historically. Historically, the main field's produced at roughly 13 grams a tonne. So there's really big upside in the grade that we can put through that processing plant and therefore the ounces that we can produce. Moving outside of that, I think it's easy for people to forget about the bigger picture here. We've been really focused on the Scotia area for a long time now, as I say, and for really good reason. We've more than doubled the resource base down at Scotia, and it's really important that you focus your work and you ensure that what you're doing is going to mature into a production scenario rather than scattering holes all over the place and getting some great results but really meaning nothing. That said, we've got a fantastic package here. Comparing it with St Ives up to the north, there's a vast difference in what Goldfields has done and what the holders of this project have done previously. Goldfields has added about 12 million ounces of gold since they've been there, primarily on those salt lakes. We have about 50% of our ground on those salt lakes. They've had really, really light work, but there's a large number of high-grade hits in that small amount of work that's been done. So we've done site-wide gravity surveys across here. We're about to do very close-spaced magnetics ahead of moving back in and starting to explore some of these wider areas. So I think you're going to see Norseman continuing to grow pretty substantially as we move along the journey. So Norseman's not just gold either. We did a deal with Mineral Resources late last year. They're focusing on the Buldania tenement at the moment. So the area that you see on the right-hand side of that diagram is Liontown's Buldania asset, which is about 15 million tonnes of material at 1%. Mineral Resources has drilled about 8,000 metres through our tenement package and the extensions to that. So far, they're planning a large amount of additional work and we expect to see some results from that in the really near term. Mineral Resources has to spend all of the money, build a processing plant, get a whole mine up and running as part of this joint venture. We don't put any money back into that. until there's a saleable concentrate coming out of the back end. So it's a really good free option for us to sit there, have MinRes do all of the work. We chose MinRes because they've got the proven runs on the board, and we believe that they will move it to production scenario in the shortest possible time. So moving on to Halls Creek now. Halls Creek is our old mainstay. It's been a fantastic mine for us. So it's taken criticism over the years. It's not a large mine. Typically we're producing in the order of 35,000 ounces a year. At one stage, when the conditions were good, we had it up to 55,000 ounces a year. But I think, really importantly, it's been operating now for about 7.5 years. It had a mine life when we started of 2.5 years, including the 6-month production time frame. So we've done 3 times the life. We've done 3 times the tonnes. So we've mined 1.5 million tonnes out of this thing now at 6 grams a tonne. So it's been a really good ore body for us. It's continued to return good cash flow for us through the majority of that time period. We have been smashed by COVID up there. We run small crews of 10 people underground. Obviously, when you have 4 or 5 people go down out of that, it has a much bigger impact than a mine that's got a 20 or 30 person crew. But the guys have worked through that really well. We've had a big quarter of development in this last quarter. You'll see another big quarter of development, and we expect to see it moving back into the sort of 9,000 ounces a quarter in the near term, and it generates really good cash flow at that time. Moving on to what is a really exciting discovery for us, the PGE discovery at Halls Creek. You can see in the top of the diagram there the Wagtail South Open Pit. So that's our southernmost gold mining pit. You can see that it butts right up to that. It's really, really close to where we're working. We discovered the PGEs here last year. Edison has a small gold resource. Our ops director, Scott Hufferdine, is very good at going back through the historical work, and there'd been PGEs noted previously. So we went and assayed, and we found 50 metre, 100 metre intersections of substantial PGE mineralisation, and we've moved on from there. So we're currently about 70% of the way through a 20,000 metre drill program. You can see from the dots here, the blue and the red dots are things that we've drilled and we've released. The black and white dots are things that are left to drill in this program, and the green dots are things that we're waiting on assays for. So there's, unfortunately, the assays are quite slow here. We have a couple of different assay methods that we need to use for the PGEs and then the nickel. You can see there that the results have been really consistent over the whole 20 kilometres of, or potential 20 kilometres of strike that we've rolled through so far. So the central zone, we see big widths, like I say, 50 to 100 metres wide from the surface, up to sort of 1.5 grams of PGEs and 0.5% nickel. As we've moved north, we've seen that narrow down a little bit. We've seen the PGE grades get substantially higher. We've seen the nickel grades improving in places as well. So really exciting, really early days, but we see something that could, has real potential to be a very, very large deposit. Dare I say it, that sort of rivals something the size of Chalice that's been drilling. So that's it in summary. As you can see, West Australian miner, we've got some great production assets, we've got some great development assets, and we've got some great exploration assets. So really looking forward to the year ahead, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Paul. Do we have any questions from the floor? If not, we've had a question come through on the text line. So what are your plans once Norseman is up and running?
Sure, yeah. So look, our absolute focus is to get Norseman up and running and running properly in the near term. As we go through that, it is our intention to continue to add to the portfolio. with additional production assets. So, you know, there's real potential for expansion down at Norseman, but I think there's a real opportunity to join together with some other assets and make a large sort of mid-tier company.
Great, thanks Paul.
Thanks very much.